Hello ladies and gentlemen, hope you're well. So today I'd like to make a wee instruction video about how I go about putting together these ZoomJam videos that you may have seen up online via Blursday Thursday, ZoomJam, the Gorgie Dalry music project, Tenement Jazz Band, and we're also in the process of making some for Tourist Walk and the Tinderbox collective. So the idea for these videos is basically groups of musicians coming together via the video conferencing software Zoom and playing together in real time. Now, before we get any further, this idea of musicians playing together in real time and being able to hear each other and being able to have that musical conversation and being able to have the back and forth that is key to live music and to playing music with others, that's actually, as far as I know, still impossible or extremely difficult to do online. It certainly isn't possible with Zoom, and my method is an attempt to bypass those limitations and to achieve some kind of delayed gratification, but also to take part in a real-time live musical performance. So I'll explain how I put it all together shortly, and I'm going to use one of the Zoom sessions we did recently at the Gorgie and Dalry music project, funded by the Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival through Creative Scotland. So we did a jam through Zoom on Monday, just Monday there, and I'm going to put together the video right now. So what's essentially happening in these videos is one person is leading the group, and they're the only one that is unmuted. Everyone else is muted, so you can't hear them. No one can hear each other. Everyone can only hear the group leader, okay? At the same time, everyone is recording themselves remotely, either through voice recording on their iPhone, through an audio interface, or a Zoom H4 or H2 or H6 digital recorder. At some point during the session, the group claps into their camera and into their microphone to essentially try and sync all the audio for editing afterwards. And Zoom also has a video recording capability which is engaged at the start of the session. So afterwards we've got the video, we've got all the separate audio files, and then my job is to line everything up so it sounds and looks like what would have happened in real time. And the participants can view the video afterwards. They can enjoy their group performance, although they didn't really get to experience that in real time. However, when they were in the session, there is a sense of solidarity, a sense of unity, because everyone is playing along together, and you can see everyone, even though it's out of sync and you can't hear them. You know that you're playing with a whole bunch of other people. So there's a sense of belonging, a sense of identity with the group, and this is essential when it comes to community music. So I'll start from scratch, and let's look at how this process begins. First things first, let's start from the start. We want to download Zoom. So we just search for download Zoom, and then we want Zoom client for meetings, and that's going to download now. Once we have it installed, which is nice and easy, we get this window here and we can schedule a meeting. So let's call it ZoomJam 5. Okay, we can set the date and time. We can set require password or not, and we can fire out all of this information in an email to our participants as well. I've got the pro version, but you can use the free version and have sessions up to 40 minutes long. So I think 40 minutes is enough time to get one tune recorded. So we can press schedule, but I'm not going to do that just now. But once you do press schedule and then you come over here and click start meeting, you get something which looks like this. So I'm going to join with computer audio, and now I'm in. And once the participants start to join, you'll see the screen start to populate with other squares, okay? And once we're all in, or not even, just at the start of the session, you can start to record on this computer, okay? So that's us recording right now. You can manage your participants via the participant tab over here, and this also allows you to mute all, unmute all, and this will mute everyone except you, and you can actually choose who to mute and who to unmute over here, okay? So once the session is done, there's plenty of tutorials online about how to navigate Zoom. You can look into your audio settings and into your video settings and get everything just right. But once the session is done, we click end meeting, and after we end the meeting, we can access the video. So it starts to convert the meeting recording, and this will take no time at all because this was such a short meeting we just had right now. So once that is done converting, that will pop up in a box or in a window here, and this is your video. But I don't want this one. I want the one which I prepared earlier from our GD Jam session on Monday. So I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro. You can use any video editing software. You can use iMovie. You can use Final Cut. I'm sure there's a bunch of other platforms you can use. It's totally no bother. But I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. So we simply drag our video file into Premiere. And now we have, I've muted it just now, but essentially this is our session. If I unmute, you'll hear that it's just me playing, and you'll hear the quality of the audio. Okay, so pretty low quality audio, and essentially this is what the participants are hearing at the time, but you'll see at the end of the process that the quality of the audio becomes much higher. So let's just save this, and we're going to come back to the video later. We're going to have a look at the audio. So I'm going to jump over to Logic. Okay, now we're over in Logic, and you'll see I've got my microphone set up here that I'm speaking through right now. So essentially what happens during the session is that everyone records themselves remotely. Then they upload their audio files to an online Google Drive that we've set up as part of the group. Then you'll see about 15, 20 minutes after the session ends, the files start to flood into this Google Drive. Once they're all up, I download them into this folder, and then I simply drag the files in to Logic. Now, you'll see there's many different types of audio, many different types of files, and even some movie files that people are just using Photo Booth on their Mac for. So we don't want to open the movie. Okay, so now we've got all our audio files in Logic, and you'll see if we just press play, that is all completely out of sync because people have pressed record at completely different times. So how do we sync it all up? We use our sync clap. So this is what happened in the session.
Great. Okay, let's do our clap then, folks. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you see everyone's completely out of time. However, in their mind, they were clapping in sync with me.
Something happened there. Let's do another clap. I think there's some lag going on. I think the longer the meeting, the harder it is for the lag. Let's do one more, okay? One more clap. 1 and 2.
So I did this twice just to make sure.
And 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so you see that everyone is clapping completely out of sync in my screen. However, in their screen, they're obviously clapping along with me. So the reason for the lag is probably a bit too technical for me to get into. I don't even understand it myself. However, it's to do with the time it takes for my signal to travel to Zoom, and then the time it takes for that signal to travel to the participant. So depending on internet connections, depending on buffer size, quality of camera, etc., it all takes different amounts of time. Okay, so that's my job afterwards, is to account for this time and try to sync everything up. Okay, so we're back in Logic, and let's see if we can sync up these claps. So the first thing I'm going to do is take me and my guitar and me and my vocal and drag it to the top. Okay, so now I've found a rough endpoint. I'm zooming in using Command and left arrow key. So that's roughly the end. That's roughly the end. I'm just being general about this because I'm gonna zoom in closer each time, each pass, It's just quicker to do these things kind of generally for the moment. Okay, so that's all our takes, roughly at the end point. So that means when we go back to the start of the recording, we can see that these claps are roughly in the right place. There's the first clap and there's the second clap. So let me look into this second clap and get everything synced up. Again, I'm just going to be pretty general and then I'll zoom in even closer. But I'm going to explain why, you know, you can afford to be a bit general with these claps. It's because the clap turns out to be not as reliable as you would like. Cool, so that is our clap synced up. Let's just have a listen to that to see if I'm... 2, 3, 4. So not quite. Let's jump back in. Right, let's zoom in as close as we can. And see if we can get these even tighter. So I'm just looking at the waveforms. And I'm spotting where the clap starts and trying to sync up that point. Okay, and let's go even further in. This all looks good now. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so that's basically as synced as I can make the claps. However, let's pick a random point. Okay, so it's still pretty completely out of sync and sounds a bit crazy. So the reason for this is because of a thing that I call drift. So we talked earlier about how it takes time for my signal going from my camera to go through my computer to Zoom, and then for it to travel from Zoom back out through the internet waves to each participant's screen. So that takes a different amount of time. The speed at which these signals travel and the speed at which everyone's signals travel is also not constant. So that means that even if we did sync up a clap, it's not guaranteed that the rest of the temporal reality that everyone is experiencing is going to happen exactly the same. What I mean by that is that because the speed at which my signal is traveling is changing, it means that my signal and my music and my performance is getting stretched and then squashed again. Okay? So sometimes my music can slow down and then speed up with itself, even though I'm playing to a click track in my ear. So I know that my performance is metronomic, and it means that editing is easier later on. It means that everyone else's performance, because they're performing to me, they're performing alongside my performance. And if that slows down for some of them, then some of their performances will slow down. And if it speeds up or even stops altogether, then some of their performances will speed up and stop altogether. Even though they've been directed that, you know, they should just keep playing through, even though my performance may slow down and speed up, that's incredibly difficult to do. So it's something we're still dealing with in these sessions. However, it does mean that there's some extra editing to happen afterwards. Okay, so now I pretty much have the performance I need. I'm just going to do a basic mix with some reverb just to add a touch of quality to the thing. So okay, just a touch of reverb. Control 2 brings up my mixer. And this reverb I'm going to option and drag. I've had to add some gain to some of the signals because they were recorded at, you know, the signal was too low. Okay, what's that sound like? All right, so now we've got something which is looking pretty close to our final track. Let's just have a listen. All right, what I'm going to do is drag all of these tracks right up until they start playing to minimize noise where there doesn't need to be any. Again, when it comes to your editing, you can edit on GarageBand. You can edit using Premiere. Just underneath your video file. It really doesn't matter. In fact, I was doing all my audio editing in Premiere Pro up until recently when I realized that I could get into a lot more detail and I could speed up the entire process so much more by using Logic. These programs are really easy to use. Logic is basically a fancier GarageBand, but all the functionality is still there. I would suggest you maybe get into some of this audio editing software if you want to put tracks like this together. So I basically have my final mix. I've added a bit of reverb to everything, and I've added a bit of compression to the melody instruments so that they are consistent throughout. And I've EQ'd a few of the tracks just to declutter the music, declutter the sound, and what else have I done? Just a few basic things to try and clean and tidy up the track. Obviously, you could spend days and days on this kind of thing and get it as good as possible, but we've got like a weekly turnaround for these kind of things, so I've only got a few hours to do it. So I think I'm happy enough with what I'm going to do. I'm happy enough with what I've done just now. And so next thing, I'm going to export it and take the final master track into Premiere Pro. Okay, so now we're back in Premiere. All I have to do is drag in my track. That's our clap. So I'll just wait. I'll mute my audio.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to make a cut in so I know where it starts. Then I'm going to unmute my other track.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm going to stop it there. And I'm going to line them up. Now, hopefully, if we see, now we're into the video. So it looks like I am in sync. I'm the second box from the top row, second from the left. Okay. So you'll see when I start singing that I am in time. If you take a look at the drums are out of sync. Okay, so the video signals are the same as the audio. They're taking their time to arrive at their destination. So we have to do a certain amount of syncing. Now, when it comes to let's say this keyboard player down here, Lewis, his hands are out of shot, so I don't need to sync him. I'm not going to bother. That would be almost pointless. A lot of the melody players, they don't need to be synced as much because if their video is slightly out of sync, you don't really notice as much. Same perhaps with the bass player, keyboards. In fact, all of these guys. In my experience, the person who's leading and singing needs to be in sync, and the drummer. Okay, so how do we sync up the rest? Certainly, everyone else is going to be behind me. So what I'm going to do is show you how to crop. I'm going to duplicate this video file and then crop it so that I can move everyone else to be roughly in sync with myself. So I do this by pressing the Option key and I drag a duplicate. Okay. Now I'm going to put myself on top. So I'm going to go to Effects, search Crop, grab the crop, stick it on top. Now I'll go over here into my effects windows, and if I deselect the bottom one, you'll see that the crop starts to work. So I'm going to crop myself. Have to be fairly precise. That'll do. From the top is fine. From this angle, that'll do. So now I've cropped myself. So this guy is in sync, okay? Now I'm going to move everyone else. I'm going to use the drummer, Ben, as my indicator. So let me just drag back. So there's a big crash on the one of the There's a big crash on the one. Let me try to sync up that crash. That's it there. Okay, so the crash happens around here. If we look at the drummer, top left-hand corner, that's where the crash happens. So I'm going to cut in there. C is cut. And let's hear where the crash happens. It happens on the one. There it is. Okay, so if I get rid of this, drag him back to here. Surely now the drummer will be in sync. Top left. Yeah. If you watch his left hand on the snare. Cool. Okay, so I'm happy with that. However, it means that now I would be out of sync in guitar. If you see that? So if we select our cropped version of me, then I should be in sync as well as the drums now. Let's get to some singing. I'm in sync with the drummer and roughly in sync with everyone else. So let's have a listen to how it looks and sounds. Let's just cut off the end. Make sure we have our intro. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, looks good to me. So that's us pretty much in sync. All I'm going to do now is tighten up the start. And the only thing I want to do is do a wee bit of color correction. So I go up to Effects, I type in 3, get 3-way color correction. Let's just deselect this one just now, so we got the whole group. I just want to bump up the saturation, the lows and the highs, just to make everything pop a wee bit more. And maybe I'll give it some kind of warmthy color. Will I make it warm or will I make it cold? I think I'll keep this one warm, so somewhere around there, and I'll back it off a bit. And then now I'll back off the saturation to about 140. Let's look at that. That looks fine to me. Tweak, tweak, tweak. A lot of these cameras do wash everything out, so maybe I will bump that back up again. Yeah, somewhere in the pink. Okay, leave that there. How does that sound? Cool, and now I'll back it off again. Cool, and there we have it. So what I want to do now is import some of our logos. So I've just opened up a previous session here, and I just want to grab these logos, copy them across to our session, and the intro one as well. And let's have a look. I want to use this logo as my counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all I have to do is drag it on to here. Whoops. Drag it onto here. Get rid of this guy. A 1, 2, 3, 4. And the end. So my computer's starting to not be able to. Oh, we can turn this down to quarter resolution. So I think this last hit is a good point to cut to our final logos. Finish on the lick. So there you have it, folks. Start to finish, how you go about creating a ZoomJam video. Everyone hooks up on Zoom. Everyone presses record and records themselves locally using whatever they have at hand. Then everyone syncs with a clap. Then everyone is muted apart from the lead player. The lead player leads off, preferably playing to click, so you know it's going to be in time. Everyone joins in to the best of their ability, and then everyone presses stop record at the end. Then everyone forwards on their audio files, and whoever's doing the editing edits everything in preferably an audio editing software, like a DAW, like a digital audio workstation, and gets the music sounding as good as possible, using the clap sync, the sync point as a starting point, and then using their own ear and being trying to get as musical as possible a performance. Bit of EQ, bit of compression, whatever you want, depending on the quality you want to get to. Then you export that as a single audio track, stick it into Premiere, line it up with your drummer. Then whoever's leading the track will be slightly ahead of everyone else. You want to crop him or her and move them in sync with the music. Then a bit of color correction, add your logos on either end, and there you have it. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you have a go at making your own ZoomJams, and get in touch with any questions and queries and anything you'd like to add to the process. We just want to help people make music together online for as long as this lockdown lasts. So thank you very much for watching. All the best in the coming weeks and months, and don't stop making music together. I'm Mike Kearney. Thank you very much. See you soon.